Sometime back in 1922, I was in the mood for a bit of light reading, easygoing, non-demanding, and I came across The Fear by Natasha Preston, and I got it out of the library, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, and then I forgot about it so completely that the title meant nothing, and the cover as well, which is quite pretty, only gave me a glimmering of memory sometime after I'd read my review. So it was very young adult, and it was quite silly at times. I enjoyed it. I had a bit of fun with it. The overall concept of it I thought was a good one. Our main character is called Izzy, who of course is the unpopular kid, because aren't they always? A meme becomes super popular, which is post your worth's death fear. And that's kind of a bit of fun concept, isn't it? Izzy doesn't do it, but everyone else just about does. And then, of course, because it's a horror after all, people start dying the way they've put on the meme as their worst fear being. Now, it was pretty predictable, let's be honest. Most of the time, pretty predictable, but that was okay. It was still fun. You often read for the process, not because you expect to be surprised. This isn't particularly horrific. I think some people did find the manners of death a bit graphic, but I thought it was quite young. Anyway, so it didn't improve as it went through. As it continued on, it became less and less good, and the reasons are mostly spoilers, so go away and watch something else if you think you are ever likely to read this book. I think if you're an adult, you probably won't. I don't know too many people who have quite my taste for children's and young adult books, and this is very young as young adults go. This is no The Hunger Games. It isn't even Divergent. Much younger. One of the first things that put me off it was Izzy, who I had quite liked as a character. I relate to the unpopular girl at school, after all. Izzy initially behaves like a sensible character who's enjoyable and fun to read, but then she just starts behaving like your typical Hollywood run-of-the-mill heroine. You know the one. She's doing every single choice they make is ridiculous. And you can't help double thinking them, because no one who hasn't had their brains scooped out with a spoon is ever going to make those choices. It's like one of those early teen horror movies. There's a guy who loves watching horror movies. He's lying on the couch and he's yelling at the screen, no, don't do that. Don't turn your back to the door. But his back's to the door and he dies. Kind of like that. No idea what movie that was. I Know What You Did Last Summer Too, or I Still Know, one of those ones maybe. Anyway, so that was very disappointing for me, since I'd liked Izzy, and the more stupid a character is, the less I care what happens to them. The second, major predictability, is such a trope. It's such a trope every single time. Why? Why do they do it? The unpopular, uncool Izzy all of a sudden has 3, count them, 1, 2, 3 hot guys panting over her, tripping over their own tongue and each other. Only, shock horror, every single one of them is a possible murderer. Which leads me to the thing that really swallowed a lot of the enjoyment of this book later on. The author was trying really, really hard to make it too possible for everyone to be the murderer. Too many people fit the mold, and the mold wasn't really that generic. There were a lot of very specific things that needed to happen for someone to be credible as the murderer, and in order to fit every single person into that category, she had to really weave reality beyond belief, even for a young adult horror movie. So it was so contrived that it really killed the whole narrative for me a bit. Pardon the pun. Terrible dad joke, but whatever. Anyway, the ending was kind of naff, and I don't actually remember what it is. Even with my review, I can't remember what it was. I made a note that I laughed helplessly all the way through the ending, because it was so trying so hard, and it was so silly, and Izzy had made so many poor decisions that I didn't care what happened to her. And all I can remember about the ending was that it was a twist, that it was a very stupid twist. It was so stupid, it was hilarious. I think it's annoyed a lot of other people. I read a few other reviews trying to figure out what the hell that twist was. I can't remember. Lots of people found it annoying. Some people found it wonderful. I think that whatever it is, do please tell me if you actually know, but whatever it is, I think it will appeal only to very young adult readers. I think anyone who's read more horror or read more mysteries or read more anything at all, or even watched movies more, I think any of them will be too sophisticated. Can you say sophisticated about a young adult horror? I don't know. Anyway, will be too evolved to really enjoy this book. I enjoyed it, but I was in the mood for it, and I can have a pretty low bar when it comes to literature.